Welcome, fellow cubicle gladiators, to the latest episode of Corporate Stockholm Syndrome, The Office Awakens. Today's sermon is brought to you by Incident.io, who have bravely declared, "We're Office first because it's fun, energizing, and faster," which is exactly what I say every time I'm forced to eat kale. Their evidence? Photos of whiteboards, hammocks, and a giant plush goose who, let's be honest, is probably the only one in the building not updating his LinkedIn. Let's all stand for the national anthem of the Holy Commute. You, noble spreadsheet samurai, are invited to sacrifice 72 minutes of your life every day to the gods of public transit. Trains that smell like hot nickels and SUVs that idle like a dragon with sleep apnea. That's right, nothing says synergy like inhaling the collective hopes and dreams of your fellow commuters, all marinating in a fine mist of Axe body spray and existential dread. Sure, scientists, those party poopers, say working from home gives you those 72 minutes back, and people actually use them to, work. But why trust data when you can trust the guy in HR who thinks synergy is a personality type? Let's talk collaboration. Legend has it, things that take hours on Slack get solved in minutes at the whiteboard. In reality, it's more like things that take hours on Slack now take hours in a room that smells like dry erase markers and broken dreams. Remember when Fortune 500s tore down all the walls to create serendipitous collisions? Plot twist, face-to-face talk dropped by 70%, but email and IM soared like a caffeinated goose. Open office, open season on noise-canceling headphones. But hey, at least you can bond over the shared trauma of Karen reheating fish in the break room microwave, learning by osmosis, because nothing says mentorship like eavesdropping on Chad explaining his fantasy football picks. I overheard a Raycast shortcut, now I'm 12% more employable. Meanwhile, in the land of actual science, not to be confused with vibe science, a randomized trial ran hybrid schedules and found no drop in performance or promotions and a 1/3 drop in people quitting. Translation, work got done, people stayed, and nobody had to sprint to a meeting room like a gazelle late for algebra. But sure, let's keep believing the magic happens only within a 10-foot radius of the office goose. Connections! The coffee line confessional. Because nothing forges human bonds like waiting for a $6 latte while pretending you don't see your manager. And yet, when companies try to glue humans to chairs with mandates, something wild happens. Employees bail. Especially the highly skilled senior and female ones. Hiring slows down like a printer in 2004. The University of Pittsburgh called it abnormally high turnover. No improvement in company performance, but hey, you get more hallway hellos. Collect them all. But culture! Absolutely. Culture is precious. Also, measurable. Switching from on-site to at-home can shrink your work carbon footprint by up to 50-something%. Trees love hybrid. Your lungs love hybrid. The planet writes little thank you notes in chlorophyll. But nothing says we care like 300 humans idling on the flyover so a goose can watch them badge in. Everyone's doing office first anyway. Not really. Hybrid is the boring, sensible default for more than a quarter of Great Britain's workforce. And that number keeps going up because, shocker, balance feels good and quitting feels bad. Corporations love retention. Just not as much as they love posting fun photos and calling it policy. Speaking of photos, the hammock corner, the rug sprawls, the handwritten Post-its that say, "You're crushing it," all charming. The office goose, staring into the East London middle distance like a feathery CFO of vibes, iconic. Dogs at stand-up, 10 out of 10, would scritch again. But props are not process. And whimsy is not a workflow. If your model is mandate proximity plus sprinkle tchotchkes plus photograph joy equals performance, congratulations, you've reinvented Disneyland with expense reports. Let's play both movies, shall we? Movie A. You wake before dawn, inhale bus breath, wedge into a chair designed by medieval chiropractors, and spend your day performing approachability theater, so someone can interrupt you in person instead of pinging you like a civilized mammal. Movie B. You reclaim more than an hour, apply it to deep work, or life, meet in person when it matters, and somehow ship the same features without pretending the carpet is magic. Which movie gets a sequel? Hint, it's the one without the 6-pound commuter latte and the Petri dish keyboard. The punchline? If your thesis is, we just really like being here, then great, fly the flag, fluff the goose, clink your keep cups. Taste is allowed, preference is valid. But the moment the sermon pivots to being in the room is inherently faster, smarter, and better, the data peeks in and asks if anyone has tried not confusing proximity with outcomes. Hybrid keeps output, reduces quits, spares commutes, and doesn't require worship at the Church of Serendipity. You can keep your hammocks and your high performers. No Keycard sacrament required. Anyway, I'd love to linger, but I've got a meeting with my most productive colleague, the mute button. If the office goose needs me, tell him I'm reachable on literally every device invented after 2009.